Hello, welcome to Lessons Learnt. I'm Sherry. This is your Wednesday video. We're going to have a little variety of things today, mostly related to ironing board, irons. At the end, we'll have a little room tour here. I've made a little bit of change, and just a slight change and where things are. But I thought you might like to see my room. Have lots of new subscribers. Maybe haven't watched the last room tour video that I did, which has been several months back. So we're going to talk about irons. We're going to talk about ironing boards. I showed this to you on Monday. This is some ironing board fabric that I got from Fields Fabrics. It was $12.97 a yard, 60 inches wide, and it's going to work fine for my 24 by 48 inch homemade ironing board that I have, and I'll show you that in a minute. We're going to install this today, so you'll get to see me do that. Very interesting stuff, I'm sure, but maybe you've not done it before. That's not rocket science. It's pretty common sense on how to put it on, kind of like wrapping a present. So let's get to that. I'm going to change the camera angle where you can watch me do it. Some of it might be in time lapse, and then I'll talk a little bit along the way too. So, okay, enjoy this next little segment on installing this. Here is my ironing table. It is over towards where my fabric is, and I have recently made the change of moving it closer to where the panels are, and these little cubbies and cabinets down below here are infrequently accessed. Also, I can still pull this out and move it around however I want. I'll move the camera down. You can see it's on two of those wooden rolly carts, but it's the wooden ones, and I painted them, and then I labeled what goes in each of the drawers, and then there's two other little areas here where I can keep things in baskets, and it never has fit well. So anyway, that's another little area that I can use for putting stuff. So we built this up. Mark and I did. He put this little area in here to build it up to the right height that I wanted, which was, I think, 30 inches. So we took a 24 inch piece of plywood by 48. I think I had, I'm trying to think, I think when I made my cutting table, it was a 48 by 72, something like that, 70, I'm not sure. But anyway, this was a piece that I used off of that. So it was a really nice piece of plywood. It wasn't chipboard or any of that stuff that's just all stuck together. It's actual wood. So just imagine going to Lowe's and getting the most expensive piece of plywood you could get. That's what this is. And it's 3/4 inch thick. So it's nice, and it's held up over there on the cutting table, and it's held up really well here. It's not bowing or anything. So it works really well. But this has worn not so well. It's just plain fabric, and I did a lot of ironing over on this side, so there's some stains under here from where I used starch or got it too hot. Let me show you. What I would do is I would see that it's kind of out of frame, but what I would do is, this was closest to where I was sitting at the ironing or at the sewing machine, and I'd just roll over here in my chair and use this little corner a lot, which I've stopped doing that. I'm getting up out of my chair and coming over here to iron. So I use this. I use my wool mat on top. The wool mat, I don't use any sort of liquid on it, whether it be water, steam, or starch or flatter, best press, none of those things. I won't say it's never happened, but as a habit, I do not use that on this, but I do use it on this. So I can move this off and use this however I want to use it. So what I have my iron, I have my homemade clappers. Let me put the camera back where you can see it. There we go. So I have my little Aliso iron. It's the smaller one, and I'll talk about that in a minute. I have this little thing that was given to me. There was something in it that someone made, and I repurposed it. So I have a new thing of flatter in there. And then over here, I also have a rolling cart. And the rolling cart in the top has other ironing stuff. I have an empty Best Press bottle because I figure maybe someday I will buy a gallon and refill that. I'm probably delusional about that because I'm not crazy about Best Press, but we'll keep it for a little while longer. I have my most favorite Faultless Luxe starch. I have a spritz bottle with just plain water in it. And then I also have my acorn pen that I use for starching seams. So all of these things I feel like need to be in a central place, and I have plans for that too. So for now, I'm going to take these off, and we're going to do something with those here in a minute. But then the first thing we're going to do is change this out. And I have a power tool here. Not much of a power tool, but nevertheless, we are going to plug something in and use for this purpose. So just need to get my iron off of there. So the first thing I want to do is I'm just going to put this right over top. I'm not going to take this off. There's no reason to. I'm just going to lay it over the top of it. And I may actually use a little bit of spray just to kind of hold it in place while I'm messing with it. This is exactly the size I need. I found in my scraps. Miracles do happen. I hope I can get that around there and attach. It's just exactly the size I need. Yeah, I will do that first. Just wanted to add another. I felt like I have batting under this. I don't know if I have one layer or two, but it feels very thin. So I wanted to add another one, and I think that'll be just the right thickness and a padding that I need for it. So let me get my stapler out here and get it plugged in so that I can staple this up underneath my board. I'm just kind of folding the ends under here, the corners under, for this batting layer. And I'm going to get it nice and flattened out and do the other end, and then do the sides. Okay, there we go. There's our batting layer. So now let's get our ironing board cover layer. I'm probably going to trim this down some. Yeah, I think I will trim down maybe, let's see here, maybe about here. It's pretty long. I think I'll take quite a bit off here. Alright, so it's going to need about that much. About that much. Yeah. So I think I'll take off about halfway between these two folds right here. And then over here, I'll take about 2/3 up from the bottom. I'm not sure if I should use old scissors for that or not. Let me see if I can. It's kind of got a metallic thread in it. I don't know. Maybe that's not what that really is, but just gonna eyeball. I've got a pretty good eye for straight, so I think I can make it work. And then, what did I say, 2/3 of the way up? Yeah. Might be a little smarter to do it this way. Unfortunately, I don't think this is going to be enough to do anything else with. Could make some small, thin boards. I'll hang on to it for a while. I might think of a use for it. Yeah, that definitely gave me a little bit more cushion. There's kind of a fine line between your ironing board being too cushy and not cushy enough. Let me get this stapled down. And we're just going to do our little smushed corners again. They don't have to be fancy. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and put some more staples around in between where I've put already. All right, this is looking nice and feeling nice. There's not much danger of stapling your finger because I'm feeling around under there to see where I am in relation to the stapler. So this is really a nice stapler. It's cordless. Just charge it up. It has a lithium battery in it. You don't take it out. And it's just kind of an air, the air pressure pushes it in. Arrow. I think I got this at Menards a while back, like a couple years ago. More than that, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. Still like brand new. Okay, so now let's go talk about irons. I'll show you the new iron that I got, and we will iron these wrinkles out of this fabric with it. Let's talk about irons. Now, this is not a Consumer Reports style video on irons. It's simply my experience with irons, and I'm going to go back quite a ways. I can remember when I was a child, I learned how to iron, and it was a heavy iron. I don't remember if it had steam or not. I don't remember ever adding water to it, or did I? I don't remember. The very first iron I used, I don't believe it had steam, but it was something that I was using to iron clothing with. I wasn't really sewing at the time per se, maybe a little. Now I'm talking like 10, 12 years old. But I do remember my brother liked to have a crease in his jeans, and he would pay me $1 per pair. So I had motivation to learn to iron at an early age. So anyway, that's was a big heavy iron. I was a little kid. It was heavy. I've got scars to prove that I used a heavy iron as a child, because my little weak wrist would sometimes lose the will to hold the iron up. From there, we did have other irons as I was growing up. They did have steam. I can remember being burned by steam. You know, all the hazards of learning to use an iron as a young person. Had all of that. But the irons that followed that original iron were very different. They were made of plastic and plastic parts, and it seemed that whole spitting dirty water would start pretty early on in the purchase of one of those, maybe within a year, maybe months. You know, that's what you would get. And you know, you would go to the store and there was a few to choose from. There wasn't a whole gamut of brand names and qualities, different levels of irons that I can recall. When I was first married, I remember getting an iron as a wedding present, and it left much to be desired, like the later irons that I was using at home before that. In home ec in school, it seemed like we had pretty good irons there. They were more the older style. You know, we were closely monitored on using those, but yeah, the qualities of irons just never really did much. Maybe when I started sewing more as a young adult, there was, you know, the Rowenta brand iron came out, and I thought, oh, that's the dream iron. It's going to solve all the ironing problems. It's not going to spit. It's not going to malfunction in any way on you and ruin your garment or your project that you're working on, like the prior ones I had did. So I bought a Rowenta iron, and I thought, okay, this is it. I'll never have to buy an iron again. I spent way too much money on it. It wasn't even a higher end one, but you know, when irons are less than $20 and then you spend $50 for an iron, that's a big jump. So that didn't make all my dreams come true, buying that Rowenta iron. Since then, I had probably a couple of different Rowenta irons, thinking, well, if even a Rowenta iron would still eventually malfunction and put spots on your clothing, then, you know, what's the next thing? Well, when I got back into quilting, I was seeing the Oliso irons, which I never had I don't know what you would call it. I just didn't feel like it was worth paying $200 for an iron. But I did buy the Panasonic 360, which was $120 and still is. It has the base. It's cordless. It's nice to have a cordless iron. It takes you a minute to get used to the fact that you need to put it back in that cradle base instead of just sitting it. And many times at first I sat it up thinking it was going to stand up, and it went rolling off onto the floor. And that's the one that Mark is using right now, and it has a busted front to it because of that. We dropped it in there actually and busted it, but it still works, and we don't use steam in it. So even though it's still fully functional, it had a wreck is basically what it was. But I didn't like how the cradle was so hot, and just to move the iron around, a lot of times I would, you know, move that base and it would be too hot to handle. I don't know, it started to spit too after a while. And where does that black brownish water come from that it's spitting? What is that in there? And why can't we get it off of whatever it gets on? I'm just very disillusioned with irons. The last iron I purchased was the little Oliso craft iron. And let me get that. Number one, I had to go back to using it does have a very long, I don't know how long this is, maybe 8 feet, I don't know. It does have a very nice long cord. Had to go back to a cord. You know, cordless is nice. The Panasonic 360, that's what they've got going for them. But it's still an iron that spits. So I got this little Aliso. I thought, okay, I get an Aliso iron, but I'll get the small one, and I won't feel like I've spent so much money on an iron. $200 on an iron, I just can't do it. This one was, I think, around $79 or something like that. I can't remember exactly what I paid for it. It might have been $97. But it's a nice little iron. And I thought, oh, that's just my size. I'll use this in the shed and take the Panasonic inside and use it for clothing or whatever. I love the sole plate. The sole plate is very nice. I don't know what it's made of. Maybe ceramic. But it's very nice. It doesn't get dirty at all. At least mine doesn't. Of course, I don't use steam. I started using steam, but guess what happened? It started spitting brown water after a little while, so I've decided I'm not using steam anymore. So I emptied it, and I've not been using steam. And you know what? You can sew, you can quilt without using steam. We have some other good products we can use over there that I showed you earlier. I don't like this iron. We have a love-hate relationship. The only thing I like about it is the sole plate. If I hold it, I'll show you. Imagine this is my thumb on my right hand. Do you see what's happening there? This is so soft and spongy. I mean, to feel it, you can't even dent it in. But my thumbnail is digging in to this part right here. And I hate that I've done that. And look, it's dirty. I'm sure it would clean off, but what am I going to do about the missing plastic? Also, as I'm holding this, this finger wants to turn the heat down. You know, as I'm going along, before I know it, I've got this turned off. Not off, but down, like not hot. It never did really get all that hot to start with, so I had to have it on full heat. At one point, I taped this over, thinking, I'm just going to tape this real hard so that I don't do that. But then I got to where I was pushing the tape. So I ripped the tape off and I just watched myself. It has a nice little light on it too. I don't know that that's very useful to me. Here's the steam thing that you can manually do. The little thing that you fill is right here. Like I say, I have a love-hate relationship with it. I love the way it glides and the way it stays nice and clean, but everything else about it is not good. So I'm thinking about retiring this to the camper. I have the smaller craft iron, you know, I don't know if it's a Dritz brand or something that everybody has, the little blue and white one. That's what I have out there now. So I might retire this to the camper. Okay, so I still can't bring myself to pay $200 for a full-size Oliso that maybe I won't be able to turn the heat off of because it's bigger, and it does have that nice little lift. It is corded, but it has a nice long cord. I just can't pay the $200. So, in watching other people's videos all throughout the past, two people have surprised me about the irons that they use. One's not really a surprise. One is Darlene Michaud. Someone asked her about her iron one time, and she says she keeps 2 of this type of iron on hand all the time. I think it's a Black & Decker, and it's actually meant to be like a work iron, like something someone might use in a wood shop or something like that, but it doesn't have a shut-off, and that's what she likes about it. Most irons have a shut-off. It's a safety feature. Why? Because people burn their houses down with irons. However, wouldn't it be nice if it didn't have a shut-off, or you had a choice about the shut-off? Because how many times do you fiddle with your sewing so long, go over to your iron, and it's shut off on you? Then you've got to sit 5 minutes and wait for it to heat back up again. Irons. Why? Why do they do these things to us? They can put man on the moon, but they can't make a good quilter's iron. Anyway, I went looking at the Black & Decker irons that she mentioned. They are super cheap. They're like $12 a piece. And I thought maybe I should just get a couple of those, and when it finally goes out, it goes out. And then I'll get another one and always have one on hand like she does. Kind of like the disposable mentality for an iron. But then I saw on Coriander Quilts, Cori Yoder has a YouTube channel, and someone wrote in and asked her about her iron. And she kind of sheepishly said that she just buys a cheap Walmart iron. So I thought, maybe this is the solution. Maybe we should go the disposable route. And when they start spitting and ruining your projects with stains or whatever other problem happens, they just don't heat anymore, just go buy a cheap iron. So I bought Cori's iron of choice, which is a Hamilton Beach iron from Walmart. So I'm going to get that out and do a little unboxing for you here, and we're going to take a look at it, and in the next few weeks and months I will be talking about this El Cheapo iron. So I've had dinner and I've ran through a rainstorm since I saw you last. But I have the iron here. This is the Hamilton Beach Durathon, 10 times more durable than traditional non-stick, superior wrinkle removal, 60% more steam for superior wrinkle removal compared to Hamilton Beach's best-selling mid-priced iron model 14289. This is model 19800F. Iron with confidence. 3-way auto shutoff, anti-drip, vertical steam, self-clean, extra long cord, 1500 watts. This is the one that I see on Cori Yoder's videos. So if it's good enough for her, it probably is good enough for me. So let's take a look. I see that it's blue and white, and there it is. It feels big. The sole plate feels pretty nice. I don't think it's ceramic, it's some sort of metal like Teflon, but it feels nice. Looks like there's a lot of room for some water if you did want to steam. The controls are on the inside here, and it's listed at, from off it goes to synthetics, wool, silk, and then cotton and linen is your steam area, and then all the way up is the cotton setting. Auto self-clean, has a self-clean button right here. Don't know what that's about. I've never had one that self-cleans, but it is called Durathon Hamilton Beach. It's a little bit heavy, but I have been using this little one. Actually, there's not much difference in the weight, if you ask me. And it has a steam output control here. There's a piece of, there's where you put the water in. It has a 10-foot cord, so that's nice. Also has a steam thumb control up here. So pretty basic. I'm not going to put water in it. I think I've decided throughout the history that I outlined that there is no iron that gives good steam results. You might get good steam results in the moment, but what will be spitting out of it later, I don't know. I don't know why she keeps rebuying these, if the heating element goes out or what happens. But I'm going to give it a whirl. Let's go plug it in and let it heat up and see if we can get the wrinkles out of my new ironing tabletop. Well, it's gotten dark, but we're going to do this room tour anyway. I'm standing at the door, the one and only door to the she shed. So as we look straight in from the door, you kind of get a broad view of how everything looks. This is pretty much how it looks all the time. It's a little bit neater right now because I knew I was going to do this room tour. So I come in, and immediately to the left is the cutting table. And of course I'm going to have filming equipment here and there, which most sewing rooms don't have that, but you'll see some things like that. I have things back here for storage. Here's the design wall. Got a few things on there right now. I have cubes with storage, ruler storage, pre-cut storage. As you go around just to the right of the door, I have my blocks that I'm currently working on. Block of the month, block of the week, whatever it may be. I just leave those on the hangers. Here I have my big She Who Sews quilt with all of your correspondence on it. This is my main sewing area. You see the air conditioner up there on the wall. I have a cart that rolls, and I frequently roll this in and out of position to get to the things behind it. And down below I have some clear storage for bundles. Could be fat quarter bundles, 1 yard bundles, what have you. Same thing on the wall there. Patterns, rulers, kits, fabric. Now this rolling cart that I just mentioned has all my current projects on it. There are a couple of things on there that are pretty dated, pretty much in the UFO category, just a couple, but most everything else I touch fairly regularly. I'll pull this out of the way. You can see I have some more shelving with more fabric. More fabric. And more fabric. But you gotta have fabric if you sew, so that's just the way it is. I'm gonna pull this back into place. Okay, so there's the design wall again. The front of my cutting table. I have a few rulers that hang on the front, some solid fabrics, a couple of drawers there that hold fusibles and things like that. Here's my sewing area again. There's the small extra cabinet that has drawers in it. That's where all the thread is. Sewing machine. More drawers. This little holder right here holds like my machine book and other reference material. I did move the shark from down under there to here because when I moved this table back here, it got hidden. I keep a bin of leftover binding and leftover cutoffs of 2 inches or less. There's a little shelf that's behind my sewing machine where I sit. This part here looks familiar, I'm sure. And yes, this table here holds a heat press and a vinyl cutter, which I have yet to work with very much, but I have it. There is Blue's beanbag, and he is in the house with Mark right now because it's thundering and he doesn't like that. Or otherwise I would be holding him right now. There's a little rolly cart in the window that you see. And then here is the ironing area. So I moved the little landscape quilt up and I installed a little wire basket that holds all of my ironing stuff. And there's room for more. I put my ironing table back together. The iron is juiced up and ready to go. And I was using it on these lines here, and I think over time they will disappear. I hope. If not, it is what it is. But I like the new surface. And it does feel correctly padded now. So that's good. The iron feels a little bit odd because I've been using a small iron. But I'm enjoying the fact that my thumb is not digging into the side. And I'm not turning off the, the heat. So plenty of room there. I'll see how this goes when I'm actually doing some piecing. But so far, so good with this. There's some pretty deep wrinkles in this fabric. But I think it's going to be okay. I got my little rubber mat out that I had for a bigger iron before. And I think that's going to work out good. Here's where I keep panels that are used for making projects. Zippers, stuff for rolling fabric, a few little decorative items, some more pre-cuts. Up above I have some stabilizers, a couple of empty boxes, the labels box, rolled fabric, fat quarters. Down here I have fleece and flannel, which is now just flannel, Batiks, and then scrap black and white pieces. I have my little home office down here, magazines, a few other artsy things down there, crafty things, and then back around to these clear bins again. So there's my eclectic palette I was telling you about. All of that is in there, plus other Tim Holtz eclectic elements type fabrics in another box up there. Some of this is my mother-in-law's stash, but it's kind of mixed in yet separate. Like above here on the top shelf, all the way across, that's all of her fabric. And then she has quite a bit in some of these clear bins through here too that I'm using from. So there we go, back around to the project bins. Okay, so that is your official room room tour of 2025. Sorry it's dark. I did put some curtain rods up above these two windows. I ordered some curtains that I thought were the color of my Lessons Learnt sign, but they are not. They're more of a sage green. I might put those up. If you see those on the next video, you'll know that I decided to keep them. If not, I might be sending those back and getting the right color. So there we go. This is where all my fun happens. This is my happy place. I hope you have a happy place too. And I'm happy to share mine with you today. So thanks for coming along with me today on this little adventure in ironing boards and irons and the room tour. Hope you enjoyed it. I will see you back here on Finish It Friday to see what I've finished and see what you have finished this week. Have a great week and I'll see you soon. Bye.